A leopard can climb better than you. A lion can overpower you. A hyena can crush bones that your teeth could barely scratch. Yet humans survived landscapes filled with all three. The obvious explanation is weapons. Give a human a spear, and suddenly the fight becomes fair. Except humans lived alongside deadly predators long before we had advanced weapons, and even a wooden spear does not make fighting a lion a sensible afternoon activity. Our survival depended on something more complicated. It involved when we moved, where we slept, how we reacted to warning calls, how we defended food, and how knowledge passed between generations. Ancient humans did not become safe by growing claws. They became safe by making sure danger rarely reached them as a surprise. The obvious answer is that humans made weapons. A sharp stone is better than an empty hand. A wooden spear is better than a sharp stone. And a projectile that can injure an animal from a distance is much better than standing close enough to discover exactly how powerful a lion is. But weapons cannot be the complete answer. For millions of years, our evolutionary relatives lived in environments containing large carnivores. Some early hominin bones preserved tooth marks and other carnivore damage. Researchers have also debated evidence connecting individual fossils with attacks by leopards, crocodiles, and large birds of prey. The exact story behind every damaged bone is not always certain predators can attack living prey or scavenge bodies, but the larger pattern is difficult to ignore. Ancient hominins were not automatically masters of their environment. Sometimes they were food. And this is where the image of the fearless caveman begins to fall apart. A lone human with a pointed stick is still a lone human. The real question is not how humans won fights against predators. It is how they avoided having to fight on the predator's terms. Imagine walking through tall grass without a trail. You could not see more than a few meters ahead. Insects hum around your face. Wind moves through the vegetation, producing dozens of sounds that might mean nothing or might hide the movement of an animal. Near a river, the mud records who visited before you. Hoof prints mean prey. Paw prints mean something followed it. The water promises relief, but approaching it carelessly could place you beside a crocodile before you even see its eyes. A cave offers protection from rain and cold. Unfortunately, it may already belong to hyenas, bears, or big cats. Archaeological sites sometimes preserve alternating traces of humans and carnivores, suggesting that both used the same valuable shelters at different times. They were not simply enemies. They were competitors, occupying overlapping worlds. Even food could create danger. A dead animal was not merely dinner. It was a signal. The smell could attract every meat eater nearby. Models of ancient scavenging suggest that groups of hominins may have been more successful than individuals when exploiting and defending carcasses against competitors such as giant hyenas. So the landscape contained a basic trap. To find water, shelter, and meat, humans had to enter the same places predators wanted. Survival required controlling the encounter before the encounter began. The first problem was detection. A predator does not need to be stronger if it can remain unseen until the final second. Big cats specialize in ambush. Crocodiles disappear beneath water. Hyenas can follow weakness over distance. Darkness removes much of the information humans depend on most. Clear vision, recognizable faces, and the ability to read the landscape ahead. One review of human membership in the ancient carnivore community argues that conflict may often have been reduced by differences in timing. Humans generally forage during daylight, while many large predators concentrate more activity at night. Avoidance, not constant combat, may have been one of the most effective survival strategies. That sounds almost disappointingly simple. How did humans survive lions? Sometimes, by not being where lions were most dangerous. But avoidance only works when you detect risk early enough. An individual has 2 eyes, 2 ears, and 1 limited field of attention. A group has many. While one person searches for food, someone else can notice movement. Adults can place children nearer the center. A warning sound from one individual changes the behavior of everyone nearby. We cannot excavate a fossilized warning shout. Archaeologists cannot prove exactly how the earliest groups organized vigilance. The cooperation among living primates shows that collective defense against leopards is possible, and evolutionary research identifies reduced predation as one potential benefit of group living. Applying this directly to ancient hominins remains an informed inference, not a preserved fact. The first human defense may therefore have been neither fire nor spears. It may have been another person paying attention. A group could detect danger, but detection did not automatically remove it. Once a predator approached, Humans needed to appear difficult, unpredictable, and expensive to attack. They could shout, throw objects, raise sticks, and cluster together. A predator considering one small individual now faced several adults, responding as one unit. This is a crucial shift. Predators do not need to fear humans in an abstract sense. They need to calculate whether this particular attempt might cause injury. For a wild predator, even a broken tooth or damaged leg can become fatal later. A meal that fights back may not be worth the cost. Tools increased that cost. Sharp stone flakes could cut flesh, but distance mattered more. Wooden spears allowed humans to place a dangerous point between their bodies and an attacking animal. Preserved wooden weapons are rare because wood decays, yet archaeological examples include spears from Clacton and Schoningen dating to roughly 400,000 and 300,000 years ago. Experimental work suggests Pleistocene hand-thrown spears could function effectively at distance in skilled hands, although researchers continued debating exactly how different weapons were delivered. A spear did not make the human stronger than the predator. It changed where the predator's strength could reach. But that solution created another problem. A weapon works only when someone knows how to make it, carry it, and use it under pressure. A poorly shaped spear is a stick. A badly timed throw is a donation. Technology required teaching. The struggle with predators was never only about surviving individual attacks. It was about information. Which tracks were fresh? Which waterhole was dangerous at dusk? Where did hyenas den? What sound did birds make when a leopard moved below them? Which tree could be climbed? Which cave entrance contained old bones and fresh dung? One person could learn these lessons through experience. But experience is a brutal teacher when the first mistake can be fatal. Humans developed a different system. Individuals could learn from other individuals. A child did not need to personally test whether approaching a silent patch of grass was wise. Adults could redirect the child, demonstrate a response, or communicate danger. The group therefore became more than a collection of bodies. It became stored memory. This may have been our deeper advantage. Predators inherited specialized bodies. Humans increasingly inherited a changing library of behavior. And unlike claws, that library could improve during a lifetime. Then came fire. Fire is often presented as a single discovery, as though one brilliant ancestor struck a spark and permanently changed history before dinner. The real archaeological record is far less tidy. Very early sites contain possible associations between hominins and burning, but some are disputed. Clearer and more widespread evidence of controlled fire developed later, particularly during the Middle Pleistocene. Researchers associate fire with cooking, warmth, landscape expansion, and defense, but the timing and regularity of early control remain debated. For predator defense, fire altered the night. It extended visibility. It gathered people into a defensible area. Smoke and flame could discourage animals from approaching directly. At the roughly 245,000-year-old Valdecarras II site in Spain, researchers identified evidence consistent with controlled fires and discussed defense against predators as one possible use. But fire was not a magical force field. It needed fuel. Rain could weaken it. Wind could scatter sparks and smoke. Someone had to maintain it. And animals living near humans could gradually learn that a flame was dangerous mainly when humans were awake and defending it. So humans added layers. Choose the campsite carefully. Keep children inside the group. Maintain tools nearby. Notice alarm calls. Preserve the fire. Avoid moving alone at the worst hours. No single layer was perfect. Together, they made attack increasingly difficult. Eventually, something extraordinary happened. The animals that had hunted humans became animals humans could hunt. This did not occur everywhere at the same moment, and it did not mean predators stopped killing people. But archaeological evidence shows that later hominins could sometimes confront even large carnivores strategically. A study of a cave lion skeleton from Germany identified a wound consistent with a wooden spear and interpreted it as the earliest direct evidence of humans killing and butchering a lion. The researchers concluded that Neanderthals were capable of actively hunting cave lions with simple wooden weapons. Other remains suggest that lion skins were also deliberately processed. Consider the reversal. A lineage once carried into caves by carnivores was now entering caves with carnivore skins. The turning point was not that humans became physically superior. The lion still had claws. The hyena still had crushing jaws. The leopard still had the better body for ambush. Humans had changed the structure of the confrontation. They could select the moment, coordinate several people, approach with weapons, exploit an animal's position, and carry knowledge from previous encounters. The predator remained powerful, but power was no longer the only thing deciding the outcome. So how did ancient humans survive deadly predators? First, they avoided unnecessary encounters. They traveled and foraged at safer times, read the landscape, and treated water, tall grass, and caves as places requiring caution. Second, they lived cooperatively. More eyes detected danger earlier. More voices and bodies could intimidate an approaching animal. Vulnerable group members could be protected inside a coordinated response. Third, they increased distance. Stones, sticks, and eventually sophisticated wooden and stone-tipped weapons allowed humans to threaten animals without relying on claws or teeth. Fourth, fire made parts of the night more visible and defensible, even though its early use was gradual and remains archaeologically complicated. And finally, humans preserved information socially. Each generation did not begin from zero. Successful behavior could be copied, taught, and improved. Ancient humans did not survive because predators suddenly became harmless. They survived because they made themselves increasingly difficult to surprise, isolate, and attack. Some individuals still died. Some groups failed. The fossil record preserves enough carnivore damage to remind us that this was never an easy victory. Evolution only requires that enough people survive long enough to pass the system forward. Modern life has removed most large predators from our bedrooms, workplaces, and streets. But our attention still behaves as though incomplete information might hide danger. A sudden movement in darkness captures your focus. An unfamiliar sound can interrupt sleep. Isolation can make a threatening situation feel worse, while the presence of trusted people can make the same environment feel manageable. It would be too simple to claim that every modern fear comes directly from prehistoric predators. Human emotion has many causes, but the broad connection is reasonable. Our nervous systems were shaped in environments where rapidly noticing uncertain threats could matter more than calmly waiting for perfect evidence. That is why fear is sometimes faster than thought. And it is why courage was never the opposite of fear. For our ancestors, useful courage meant responding to fear together. Tonight, when you turn off the light, darkness will fill the room just as it filled landscapes millions of years ago. But almost everything else has changed. Walls stand between you and the night. Doors lock. Other people are nearby. Knowledge about dangerous animals can be stored in books instead of learned beside fresh tracks in the mud. That safety was built from thousands of generations noticing what worked. Someone watched while another person slept. Someone remembered where the predator waited. Someone kept the fire alive. Someone taught a child not to approach the water alone. And gradually, the most vulnerable animal on the landscape became the animal capable of redesigning the landscape itself. We did not inherit the sharpest claws. We inherited one another,